If the Lakers fall apart entirely, I think it will be, honestly, truly outrageous. If Austin and Luka don't come back, and the Lakers get clocked in round one, which they would if they don't come back, and folks then say, see, this is why March was an illusion, I would just ask them, take any team in the league and drop them into the playoffs without their best player and either their second or third best player. And let's just go best and third best, any team in the league. And how do you think they would do?
The NBA is in a state of absolute shock, and the Los Angeles Lakers are currently the epicenter of a massive medical conspiracy that the league hasn't seen in decades. While the mainstream media was busy writing premature obituaries for their 2026 season, and while the haters were celebrating what they thought was the end of an era, Luka Doncic didn't just disappear, he vanished into thin air. He didn't stay in LA to sit on a comfortable bench in a designer suit. No, he boarded a high-speed private jet and fled to Madrid, Spain. The question everyone is asking is why? The answer is simple and terrifying. It's because the American medical system, with all its regulations and FDA red tape, is far too slow for a man who is obsessed with conquering the world. Luka isn't just looking for rehab, he is looking for a miracle that isn't allowed on American soil. We are talking about a grade 2 hamstring strain, an injury that traditionally ends seasons and breaks careers. It's a brutal, deep tissue tear that requires months of stagnation. But in the shadows of Madrid, under the protection of his former club Real Madrid, Luka is reportedly undergoing what some are calling forbidden treatments. From elite stem cell manipulation to highly concentrated placental tissue therapies and exosomes, procedures that are heavily restricted in the US, Luka is attempting to rebuild his body at a superhuman, almost biological hacking pace. He is fighting a war against science itself to prove that impossible is just a word. The fans aren't just waiting anymore, they are in a state of desperation, praying for a Madrid miracle that can save a franchise on the brink of collapse. But while Luka is thousands of miles away fighting his own cells in Europe, the rest of the Lakers were left in the trenches to fight for their lives back home. The vultures started circling immediately. After that pathetic, soul-crushing 43-point blowout against OKC and a humiliating defeat at the hands of a struggling Mavs team, the world finally felt brave enough to call them what they've always suspected: frauds. The noise was deafening. The critics said the Lakers' magic was dead, but then the lone snake himself, LeBron James, stood up and reminded the entire planet why he still wears the crown. In a display of pure, unadulterated defiance, LeBron took a shattered roster and hunted down the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns in back-to-back statement wins. Without Luka, without Austin Reaves, and without any margin for error, LeBron proved that the fire still burns. This isn't a team that's dying, no matter what the experts tell you on TV. This is a team that is holding its breath. This is a team in a state of suspended animation, standing its ground in the middle of a storm, waiting for its heart to start beating again. The king is holding the fort, but the dawn is being rebuilt in a lab in Spain. The gamble is massive, the stakes are historic, and the world is about to find out exactly what happens when you count out a cornered legend. Let's get deep into the science they don't want you to know. Let's talk about what's actually happening behind the closed doors of the Sanitas La Moraleja clinic. Luka Doncic isn't just doing standard rehab. He isn't just sitting in an ice bath or doing basic stretches. He is under the expert knife and watchful eye of Dr. Javier Barrio, the man who knows Luka's body better than anyone in the NBA. Phase 1 of the Madrid Protocol is officially complete, but what does that actually mean? It means they are manipulating stem cells to a level of potency that would make the FDA in the United States lose their minds. In America, regulations are a cage. In Europe, they are a suggestion. While US doctors are forced to play it safe, Barrio is reportedly using ultra-concentrated exosomes and umbilical cord-derived stem cells to aggressively target the micro-tears in Luka's hamstring. They aren't just healing the muscle, they are trying to evolve it. This is high-stakes gambling at its most dangerous. Luka knows the math. He knows that if he isn't back on that floor for Game 1 or Game 2 of the first round, the Lakers' entire season and every dollar spent on this roster is nothing but a waste of paper. He's taking a Hail Mary shot, trying to compress a standard 6-week recovery timeline into a miraculous 20 days. It's a biological sprint against the ticking clock. But here is the controversial truth. When you manipulate cells this way, you are playing with fire. You are laying down brand new tissue that hasn't been battle-tested. It's fresh, it's soft, and it's vulnerable. Every time Luka pushes himself in these private sessions, he is one slip away from a catastrophic tear that could sideline him for an entire year. The medical world is watching with bated breath, debating whether this is genius or pure insanity. And yet, the physical pain, the needles, the high-power lasers, the hyperbaric chambers, isn't even the hardest part of this journey. There is a psychological war happening behind the scenes that most people are completely ignoring. Every morning, Luka wakes up in a different time zone, miles away from his teammates, wondering if his body will betray him when the lights are the brightest. He's isolated. He's under immense pressure from a front office that needs him to be a savior. He's fighting a war on two fronts, one against his own biology and one against the crushing weight of expectation. This isn't just a comeback story, it's a high-tech survival horror, and the final chapter hasn't been written yet. The most controversial, debated, and misunderstood move of this entire injury saga, the Slovenia Detour. After Phase 1 of his high-tech treatment in Madrid was finished, Luka Doncic didn't board a jet back to Los Angeles. He didn't rush back to the Lakers' training facility to show face. Instead, he headed east. He went to Ljubljana. The mainstream media and the talking heads called it a break. They called it a vacation in the middle of a crisis. But inside the Lakers' inner circle, they knew the truth. This wasn't a holiday, it was a desperate survival tactic. Luka wasn't just physically injured, he was mentally and emotionally drained. We are talking about a man who has been carrying the weight of the world's most famous franchise on his back, all while being thousands of miles away from his two young daughters. Critics like Stephen A. Smith and the old-school pundits love to call this generation soft. They scream about toughness and sacrifice. But let's be real. A man who can't see his family, a man whose soul is empty, cannot win a championship. He cannot lead a locker room into the fire of the playoffs if his heart is back in Slovenia. The Lakers management didn't just give him their blessing, they practically forced him to go. Why? Because they are terrified. They are terrified of a burnt-out superstar. They know that a mentally broken Luka is just as useless as a physically injured one. This detour was about finding his soul. It was about touching ground in the place that made him a warrior. While the experts on TV were mocking his toughness, Luka was recharging his heart. He needed to look into his daughter's eyes to remember exactly why he is fighting this biological war in the first place. This is the mental well-being factor that the media hates to talk about because it doesn't fit their gladiator narrative. But real ones, the people who actually understand the pressure of greatness, know that this is how you build a champion. He went home to find his peace, but he didn't stay there. The second his spirit was recharged, he flew right back into the medical fire of Madrid for Phase 2. He didn't choose the easy path, he chose the only path that leads to a trophy. He traded a few days of media criticism for a lifetime of playoff readiness. The haters can call it soft all they want, but when the dawn returns with a clear mind and a healed body, those same critics will be the first ones begging for an interview. This wasn't a break, it was a tactical reload. Now let's talk about the smoke inside the building. While the fans are looking at the scoreboard, we need to look at the shadows. JJ Redick's locker room has become a psychological pressure cooker, and the steam is starting to leak. There is a war of optics happening here, and at the center of it is the politics of presence. While Luka Doncic is 6,000 miles away in a high-tech lab, Austin Reaves has become the silent soldier of the Lakers. Make no mistake, Reaves is hurting. He's dealing with a painful oblique strain that makes every breath a challenge. But look at where he is. He hasn't left the team's side for a single second. He's on the bench in street clothes. He's in every late-night film session, and he's in the trenches during every timeout. This creates a silent, vibrating tension. The locker room sees Reaves grinding through the pain just to be a voice, while their alpha, Luka, is a ghost in a different time zone. Redick is playing a dangerous, high-stakes game. He's ruling with an iron fist, telling the media to shut up and stay out of his business. But behind those closed doors, he is fighting a mutiny of doubt. The wins over the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns were not tactical masterclasses. They were pure, raw grit. It was LeBron James refusing to die. But even the lone snake has limits. Behind the scenes, the veterans are whispering, how much longer can a 41-year-old man carry this entire city on his back? Redick is a perfectionist. He is demanding 100% execution from a roster that is operating at 60% capacity. He is trying to drive a Ferrari at top speed, but the transmission is shattered and two of his best cylinders are missing. There is a divide growing between the next man up philosophy and the reality of the exhaustion. Redick's intensity is starting to rub some players the wrong way. They see a coach who is desperate to prove he belongs, pushing a short-handed squad to the brink of physical collapse just to survive the regular season. The chemistry is on a knife's edge. Every time LeBron grimaces after a drive, every time the bench looks at Reaves instead of the empty seat where Luka should be, the tension grows. Redick is holding it together with duct tape and sheer willpower. He's betting everything on the hope that when Luka finally returns, all the internal friction will vanish. But if the locker room breaks before the King and the Don reunite, there won't be anything left for Luka to save. This isn't just coaching, this is an ego-driven gamble that could define the Lakers' history for the next decade. The playoff scenario for the Los Angeles Lakers is simple, brutal, and potentially deadly. Whether it's the Houston Rockets or the Minnesota Timberwolves standing in their way, the threat is the same. Two young, hungry, and hyper-aggressive teams ready to feast on the remains of a legendary legacy. Nick Wright and the optimists are predicting a Madrid miracle, a Luka Doncic return by Game 3 on April 25th. But we need to look at the dark side of this desperate timeline. We need to talk about the ghost that haunts every short-term recovery, Klay Thompson. Remember 2019? Remember the NBA Finals? Klay tried to defy biology. He tried to push through a leg injury to save a dynasty. The result? A catastrophic ACL tear that didn't just end the series, it changed the course of NBA history and robbed a superstar of his prime. If Luka forces his way back onto that court on April 25th, he isn't just playing a game, he is gambling with the next 5 years of his life for the sake of one first-round series. Is a trophy in 2026 worth becoming a what-if story for the rest of eternity?